Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of Parkinson's Policy Podcast, where we advocate together to raise awareness and advance meaningful policy for the Parkinson's community countrywide. From Washington, D.C., literally straight from the Capitol, U.S. Capitol, and beyond, we bring together senators, representatives, researchers, and advocates to amplify the voices of people with Parkinson's and their families, because no one's alone in this fight for a cure. My name is Dr. George Ackerman. I'm Sharon's son. Also the founder of TogetherForSharon.com, along with me, my incredible, amazing, and inspiring co-host, Margaret Preston, the president of Power Over Parkinson's, and we wanted to welcome you to another episode of the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, George, and I'll volley all those compliments right back to you. I have the honor to introduce our next guest. Representative Valerie Gaydos has been a leader in fighting to make government more efficient, transparent, and accountable, which I think we can all rally towards to the citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. She was elected to serve her fourth term in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives in November of 24, and will continue to be committed to putting her experience from the private sector to work to help grow the state's economy and improve opportunities for employers and employees across the Commonwealth. Supplementing her work with the small business community, job creators in schools and universities, Valerie serves on the advisory committee for Standing Firm, an organization aimed at ending partner violence, a guardian advisor for the Pittsburgh Honor Flight Network, which helps take veterans to Washington, D.C. to tour war memorials, and a member of the Firearms Owners Against Crime. She's an avid outdoor enthusiast, nature lover, and dog rescue volunteer. So, Representative Gaydos, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your time.
Well, thank you both for having me on this very important show that addresses these very important issues of Parkinson's.
Absolutely.
Well, as a young child, we all have dreams of growing up to do something special, and you achieved that. I was curious, what got you into this line of work in policy, but also sometimes they say more importantly, but also sometimes, unfortunately, into the world of Parkinson's disease advocacy.
Well, when I first started out, when I was in college, I actually worked for U.S. Senator Hines, who is also known to really address a lot of issues of health, environment, and other healthy things in a nonpartisan way. But when prior to getting elected now for the State House, I spent 25 years in the private sector and was a successful business owner, sold and bought a bunch of companies, and was really right in the heart of the internet and technology boom. So I actually moved back to Pittsburgh to take care of my mom who had Parkinson's. And when you ask what is the reason why I ran for office, is that period of time taking care of my mom who had Parkinson's, I was very fortunate to have had a successful business. And so in some ways that I had the time, unfortunately, my husband had passed away from cancer, lung cancer. And that's one of the reasons why I moved back home. It was just me, but I was taking care of my mom, and I saw the struggles of caregivers. And that was really a big motivation, is that I had the ability to work in the evenings and work on my computer and to see that the everyday struggles that average people when they're a caregiver, whether it's Parkinson's or any other illness, it's a big issue. So that was one of the big motivators.
Thank you. What is your mom's name, just for
Martha Barzilay.
Hope it's okay again. I know Margaret will be okay with it if we dedicate today for your mother. And we also send our love. We wish there was a cure for cancer too, but we concentrate here in Parkinson, but again, we want a cure for everybody out there battling anything. So thank you.
Well, what's really fascinating about my mom's story and journey, and I may be getting ahead of your questions here, but my mom really felt dedicated to sharing her story with the doctors at UPMC. Her doctor, who so she participated in research because she felt that if she was going to go through Parkinson's, she wanted to be able to share all that information because she didn't want her to be suffering through something without sharing that with others. But fast forward, when she passed away, she wanted to donate her brain to science. And what she did was before she passed away in 2017, we contacted the brain bank. And what was really remarkable about that story was that the person who answered the phone said, "Wait a minute, what is her name?" And it turns out 20 years before that, he was a medical intern with my mom's original Parkinson's doctor who gave the diagnosis. So it was kind of an interesting full circle, but she gave her brain to study for Parkinson's disease.
Thanks for sharing that. And as we always say through the show, and everyone we meet in the audience, all of our family members who unfortunately lost their battle still live on, at least their memory. And I'll make sure, you could be sure that I won't stop talking about Martha, my mom, and everyone out there who is still, again, living through us all. So thank you. As we turn to your state, which is really important in our topic today, there are certain policies being discussed, but what policies can you touch on that are being considered in Pennsylvania to expand access for therapies and treatments that can improve the quality of life for those also living with Parkinson today?
Well, I think the first thing is that it has to do with caregivers. And I think that for any disease, but particularly Parkinson's, making sure that there is consistent caregiving to our family members. So there's a lot of things that we are doing on the state level to provide access to caregiving and caregiving at home. I mean, I think that's number one. As far as other things in terms of preventing Parkinson's from happening, I think that we are looking at banning certain chemicals and other things that we know contribute to Parkinson's disease. And that's on the forefront as well. So, for example, I'm joined with Representative Mihalik in addressing eliminating paraquat. Most people sit there and they say, "Wait a minute, didn't we already eliminate that from our systems?" And the answer is no, we haven't. And that's to prevent the disease from happening is also very paramount to what we're trying to do, is taking a look at some of these causes. I know Pennsylvania many years ago in, I think it was even the late 80s or early 90s, got rid of dieldrin and aldrin, which was a pesticide for termites. I think we're still seeing the effects of pesticides on people who get Parkinson's, whether it be people on, greenskeepers and what we're using. And I think we have to be a lot more aware of those types of things that are causing Parkinson's in the first place.
Thank you for sharing that. You segued into my next question beautifully as we talk about your mother's journey. You think it's attributable to exposure to pesticides such as paraquat. Can you share a little bit about her story and why you are now supporting legislation that would ban paraquat in the Commonwealth? We had the opportunity to chat with Representative Mihalik and the companion bill co-sponsor, Senator Robinson as well. So share with us a little bit about her story that tied to paraquat and why you're now supporting this legislation that would be really paramount in changing the trajectory of the disease in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, so I actually think my mom's Parkinson's could have been attributed to a couple of things. And I think that in my mother's case, growing up, we had, I actually think it's dieldrin and aldrin is perhaps one. And that is that, and that's already been banned. But, and that was, growing up in our house, there were some termites that had come into the house. And my parents decided to get ahead of it, and they had a termite company come, and the person was not fully trained in administering what my mom later found out was dieldrin and aldrin, and actually didn't put it deep enough in the foundation, sprayed from one hole to the next, and sprayed it all over our bookshelves, like literally all over the basement. And it wasn't until many years later, I mean, my mom passed away in 2017, and they did connect aldrin and dieldrin, I think officially, like 2 years ago, to Parkinson's disease. The other thing is that my mom had a blood transfusion in 1960s, and that was before they tested for hepatitis. And it wasn't until my mom was 80 some years old that she was told that she had hepatitis B, hepatitis C. And that also has been tied to some Parkinson's isms that we've seen, because a lot of in the 60s when they were bringing blood, people were donating blood. A lot of them were coming back from Vietnam, and no one thought to find hepatitis C. So my mom had the reason why she had the blood transfusion in the 60s is because she had a stomach ulcer. And then I know also that they've attributed to H. pylori that causes stomach issues that are connected to that brain, I guess the nerve that goes into your stomach. So again, I'm not a doctor. There's all these things that my sister and I have read. And by the way, my sister is a family physician. So we talk about all this stuff and all these connections and all these overlaps. And so is it definitive? I think the only thing that really recently was definitive right now was aldrin and dealdrin. That's been banned. And then now they're tying the paraquat and other pesticides. I have to say that I have a friend who had worked for a major chemical company as legal counsel. And we've had a lot of conversations about those things. And unfortunately, I think that some of these pesticides, while they're killing insects, we have to be take a look at what they are on the human body.
Completely agree. Thank you for sharing that.
Sorry for the long answer on that.
No, you highlighted a lot of things, and it makes me think about how, things like what we did prior, we can say we didn't know any better, right? So we can include smoking in that, but
right.
Getting to a point now, we know better with paraquat, the data is there and the link is there. So it's like, we do know better and we need to have policy that reflects that. So you're championing this legislation means a lot, I know, for the residents in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, as well as other states who have kind of eyes on each other to see who's going to maybe pass such legislation first. So it's very meaningful, and we appreciate your support in that bill.
Okay.
Ladies first. Representatives first.
Yeah. And I do think that there is proof of you see a lot of people who are greenskeepers and that have Parkinson's symptoms, and they've been around a lot of times in grass, and they spray and we all know that not everybody is affected the same way. And there's stories that you can say people who've smoked all their lives and never got lung cancer. And there's people who've been around pesticides all their lives and never got ill from it. But there's just increasing evidence that some of these external factors are huge, and it's not just genetic.
They even bring up, unfortunately, when you mentioned termites, my mother had them too, and they sprayed for that too. And we always talk about, the landscaping. I'm looking at it here in Florida right now as they're going by mowing things and blowing and causing noise. So I have to mute my mic. But, I always kind of forget the moles in the house and the termites, and we don't even know. I think all of them likely added, but I'm going to have to go back to my research here and do a whole article on that, because I don't think people, honestly, Margaret could tell me, but I've never even seen anyone ever in my 6 years say the word termite spray or even mold much. It's always, the important one, of course, landscaping, but we also have to talk about, laundry. Even when we bring our clothing to the laundry, they use toxins too. And anyway, this could, it's fascinating, even learning each show we have. So thanks for bringing that up, and maybe again we can investigate a whole show on that. But how can we also help assist individuals like yourself, lawmakers, better collaborate with advocacy groups to accelerate progress? Because one last note is, when Margaret was fighting for good reasons at her house, I was shocked when I heard there were people actually lined up against that. How could someone be against saving lives? I don't care for money, for anything. It's just simple. So, and again, not to go through it too long, but every country except for Australia and the US have banned paraquat. So we need to, do something. And I know you're leading the way on this, at least in your state. So grateful for that.
What was really interesting is that when you look at, you always, hindsight's 2020, and and we didn't know any better. And one of the things, my mom was very physically fit, and she was not a smoker. She never drank, and and but her one obsession was she liked to keep everything clean. And so when I say about the house was contaminated with deodorant, she was there cleaning everything. And I think, gosh, she didn't have gloves on and things like that, because we didn't really know. But she's there cleaning it up. And I think that again, history is always, hindsight is 2020. And it's she also, through the 50s, she was always a strong believer in eating fresh fruits and vegetables. Well, those were those same fresh fruits and vegetables that were sprayed on the exterior with a lot of stuff that we were not aware of, that were pesticides. And every time you took a bite into an apple that perhaps was not washed or scrubbed with those past pesticides, she was taking a bite of, she was thinking she was eating healthy, and she was perhaps, ingesting pesticides. Again, this is all speculation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as George noted, we have a similar bill up in our own General Assembly this year. It was tabled till next year. I had the opportunity to testify, but as George noted, we did have a long line of opposition who also came in and spoke in opposition of the bill. So, it's tough, and the work is ahead of us. So we appreciate your patronage, your support of this bill. So I wanted to talk about those who are not in opposition, those who are in favor of this legislation. What would you encourage these constituents to do who are in favor of banning paraquat in the Commonwealth? What are some things they can do to contacting their lawmakers? How can they go about kind of articulating their support in hopes of moving it forward?
Sure. I mean, I think what's always important is to call the governor's office. I think call my office. My office is 412-262-3780, or you can always go to repgaydos.com. I welcome sending me the information, and I could always get that to my colleagues who, let's say, if you're not in my district, but you're in somebody else's district. And I think it's just a matter of making your voice heard, but also making it heard with some facts and some background that, hey, look, my family is affected with Parkinson's, and here was my environment. But I think that's typically the best way to communicate.
Thank you.
Well, it's just an honor again to have the opportunity to advocate by your side, and you can always count on both of us and this community to really help encourage anyone out there to support the work you're doing. As we wrap up today, I was wondering if you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement. What would those be?
I mean, I think that the future is getting better in so many ways. I think that my mom was also a recipient of DBS, and she was one of the first 100 patients to get the deep brain stimulation technology, and that eliminated her tremors. And I see the people now going through those technologies, and they're just leading better lives. And so I think that there is some hope through technology on this. And then hopefully we're reducing the amount of people who are getting Parkinson's in the first place, because if we're eliminating some of these chemicals and also talking about lifestyle, I think that that's a positive thing.
Yeah, some days I wake up and I lose hope. Unfortunately, I lost my best friend and mother, but then having shows like this, working side by side with Margaret and learning so much from every representative throughout the country definitely inspires me to never give up, and grateful. I wanted to send the show to conclude from my amazing co-host, Margaret.
Well, Representative Gaydos, thank you so much for the good work that you're doing. Again, we attempted to do the same thing in Virginia, and I know a lot of states have some sort of bill tied to paraquat, about 12 or so. So we're excited to see what unravels in Pennsylvania. We couldn't do it without folks such as yourself, who are representing all those who have loved ones with neurodegenerative disease. We thank you for sharing your time. I know you're a busy person, but for the fact that you were willing to take the time to share what's going on in Commonwealth as it relates to Parkinson's disease, we're very thankful for that.
Well, thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
And also note, and Margaret, and behind the scenes, we see so much from Pennsylvania, really almost like leading the way. So I pray and hope that once everyone sees the work you're doing and supports it, it'll kind of catch on from state to state to state, and that really will bring the legal and policy change that we hope for from this show and from all the work every representative is doing throughout the country. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I also want to thank my incredible guests. Say it 10 times, it's not enough. Margaret, for all the work she does, also behind the scenes, Adam, and the whole entire Power Over Parkinson's organization. The show wouldn't be possible without most of the work they're doing, also behind the scenes scheduling and things. So always note that. And also wanted to thank our incredible representative today and our audience, because without you, again, on the tough days when I, miss my mother, can't be with her, but feel she lives on through this show and all the work we do, but also supporting Margaret and their family as they're still battling this. And I hope we can stop that and help cure her father every 24/7, literally. But this has been another episode of the Parkinson's Policy Podcast, where we advocate together to raise awareness and advance meaningful policy for the Parkinson's community. We thank you again, representatives. We thank the whole state and all states out there talking about this. Even this conversation, I feel, is going to live on beyond us, but we're making history. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.